Lady Mary Russell, thank you very much. Well, let's bring in Ian Lloyd. You're writing a book about the Queen's childhood and the sort of things that shaped her. What are your perceptions of her, someone who has been in the public eye for most of her life?
I think that word calm that Lady Mary used is interesting because she's a very calm figure who would come into a room quite relaxed, quite formal. And I once asked her cousin Margaret Rhodes, how does the Queen cope with the fact that, say tomorrow she's opening Parliament, the sort of thing that most of us would get stressed about? And she said, well, she's got the ability to compartmentalise her life so that if the groom's son is going to university and needs accommodation, she'll give that her thought at that time, and then she will face the challenge of the next one after that, if you see what I mean. And she said in an interview in 1992 for the film Elizabeth R documentary that she'd been trained and she was glad she'd been trained. Her parents taught her very much to, particularly her father during the war, how to, she watched them, how they behaved, and she went on a big tour with them to South Africa. She got the training, so I think that was important from the childhood.
It must be quite exhausting, effectively always being on show.
I think the thing that impresses me is the fact that it's how she deals with the tedium, I mean, I once saw her in the Czech Republic on a tour, and she went into this room. There was about 150 people, nothing in the room, no pictures, nothing to talk about. Just this snake-long line of 150 people, and she started at one end, and I thought, my God, you've got to say just a few words right the way around. And you can't say anything political, anything rude, anything that would engage them in conversation. It's got to be a slight, question about health, weather, something minor, And she does that day in and day out. I mean, she sees ambassadors, and, and it'll be 5 ambassadors in the morning. Wouldn't you just long to say after the 4th, oh, let's leave it at that? But she doesn't.
And so, I mean, obviously, as you say, and it's obvious because of the role she does, she has to be able to communicate with people at so many different levels. She can't articulate any views on politics, but she has to be across everything that is going on because of the wide range of people that she's meeting all the time.
But why I respect her, I think it's a challenge for her. I've been told that she's quite a shy person. She would like to live, as she said, in the country with horses and dogs. I interviewed another cousin who said that on a tour, the Queen looked out of the window at all the people, and she said, if I were mummy, I'd be down there now. Because the Queen Mother was an actress, she was a natural with people. The Queen finds it a little bit challenging at times, so you've got to respect the fact that she's been doing it for 63 years in a job that, in some ways, she would find challenging.
And it's been said that she actually would have preferred not to have done anything today and just had a quiet day, but she is going to.
It's typical of her and Prince Philip. They're the wartime generation that believe in duty. She said, again in 1992, I just wish people would take on jobs for life. I mean, Margaret Thatcher was around 11 years as Premier, Tony Blair 10 years. At the time it seemed an eternity, but now as you get further on it seems a short time. But she's been around since 1952 when Stalin was leader of Russia, Truman in America, Chiang Kai-shek in China, It's amazing.
And it really is a job for life. She's going to be 90 next year. She has pulled back on the number of engagements she does, but as we're going to see today, she's still very much out and about.
Yeah, it's interesting. And the photograph, the official photograph they've released, the box of documents that she does every day apart from Easter Sunday and Christmas Day, that dominates the picture, and that's her life when we don't see her. She's still working. She's still up there in Scotland keeping an eye on things. And as you said, she's Queen of 16 countries, not just head of state of Great Britain.
Thank you very much for coming in, Ian Lloyd.